negotiate.
Okay.
We used to be township engineers for half the county, like Highland Park, Edison, Franklin, South Brunswick, East Brunswick,
Wow.
Monroe, Cranbury. We had them all. We used to do all the work for them in those days. It wasn't too much work then, but you start with the Depression. And you know, Depression, when the Depression started,
28?
28, there was nothing built for 10 or 15 years. Nothing was built.
So it was easy work.
So,
When you were out surveying on your lunch hour, did you sit around or did you go out hunting where you were surveying?
we did
I heard stories about these arcades that you put in.
we did a little walking around in noontime.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
2-hour lunch, you go hunting for pheasants?
2 hour, half hour.
Bakers were big hunters, I hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, where was the best hunting spot?
Well, they change. One time this place, we used to go to Pennsylvania when their season opened, pheasants. And around here we hunted all over.
You liked mostly to hunt pheasants?
Yeah, pheasants and quail.
Did you use dogs?
Oh, we had dogs. We always had bird dogs. We still have 3 out there.
There you go.
You have a big farm in Pennsylvania too, right? The Baker Farm? Is there a farm up in Pennsylvania?
My brother Raymond
Right.
has a big farm in Pennsylvania. Yes.
Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Baker Mountain by the Susquehanna?
Yeah,
What,
Yep.
Wyalusing?
Lucy.
Yeah.
After George retired, we'd go quail hunting one day and the races the next.
That's good living.
Yeah.
When was the first time you saw deer in New Jersey?
Well, the first time I saw a deer, I was 21 years old, and we went to South Jersey hunting, and I saw my first deer.
When was the first time you saw a deer around here?
I think up in the Sand Hills I saw one about 27.
1927?
Yeah.
Wow.
There weren't deer in South Brunswick?
There were no deer in New Jersey.
Really?
There were no deer in New Jersey. They didn't start a hunting season. They started stocking around 1900, and they didn't have an open season until about 1920.
See, now I always thought the deer were here from the Indians.
They were all gone.
Well, they got wiped out.
You know, there was
Oh.
none around here till about 27 or so.
Well,
But most people don't realize that most animals were wiped out, or, remember jackrabbits?
Yeah, me.
Jackrabbits?
Jackrabbits, they used to bring them in from out west. Jackrabbits.
Big catch.
Yeah.
That was a big catch.
Yeah, jackrabbits.
Is that one of your trophies over there?
That's my son's.
That's your son's.
That's moose.
He has, you want to see his trophies in the other room. He's got
Well,
a sheep.
if you want to share them, I'm sure, because
got a
Tony hunts and fishes.
sheep and elk, sheep and elk and goat.
And where would you get them? Where would you go to get them?
They went to British Columbia. About 4 of them, I think, went. My brother Raymond and Howe and
Clarence Huntley.
Clarence Huntley and Treptow, I think.
Treptow from Milltown?
Yeah, they all went, and they all came
Taxidermist?
back with a goat and a sheep. I think they all came. I think one of them got a bear, and Hal got a moose. On that trip, he had a moose and an elk, and no, not an elk, a moose and a sheep and a goat on that trip. Then they used to go to Idaho, elk hunting.
Now, would you like to speak about your own children and when they were born, and were they born here, or and when you met Mrs. Baker?
Where'd you meet Gwen?
Well, they used to have the school, you know, they had a one-room school right here. One-room school, and she taught there. till it finished. One-room school. And then after that, they turned it into a community house. And we used to have dances there about once a week or so in the winter. And I met her there, I guess.
And what was her maiden name?
Wendland Lawrence Brown
Lawrence.
Baker. Wendland Lawrence Brown Baker.
She taught you, didn't she, Frank?
Yeah, she taught
She was my teacher.
Yeah, I thought that when we interviewed you the other day, you were telling us, yeah,
One room. Yeah, she had all 8 classes there.
8 classes.
Yeah.
Wow.
K through 8.
I remember one of the last classes was Dick Clayton, Lester Forge, and some girl. The 3 of them graduated.
Big graduating class.
That was a graduating class, yeah,
Now, where was she educated?
right here.
She go to normal school, did they call it?
No,
for
she
teaching?
went to Women's College,
Oh,
for a year.
Douglas.
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 And she went there for a couple years.
New Jersey College for Women.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't know what they call it now.
Douglas.
Douglas.
Okay.
That was 20, she went till 23, I think it was.
I
And
don't remember the year.
The first full class to graduated in 24. Whatever that first year is, she never graduated, she got her teaching certificate. But she went with Frida Dreiling
Yeah,
and, what was that young lady from, was it Emily Post?
yeah, Emily
Sister.
Post, yeah.
Yeah, there was a whole crowd of them
Yeah,
that
yeah,
ran.
they used to be, come, yeah, if we were married, our classmates would come here about once a year or so. They're all gone now, I guess.
Very beautiful lady.
Yes, she was. She spent a year in San Francisco, and she was teaching in one of those special classes or
Settlements.
something.
The settlement house.
Sentiment house.
Yeah. After she graduated from school, she took letters of introduction from relatives here that knew people out there, and she traveled out west, went to the Grand Canyon. We have all sorts of pictures of her, you know, and she took the train and whatever way she could to
Wow.
get out there.
that's amazing.
Then once she reached California, she taught there for a year in what they call a settlement house, which was set up for ethnic groups. And they would bring their children in and she would teach them, you know, basic hygiene and language and teach them basic mathematics so that they could start out a new life here in the United States.
It was the same section where Joe DiMaggio was brought up in. I don't know whether he was there or not, but he could have been. It was that same section where he grew up, Joe DiMaggio.
And she eventually came back this way to teach.
Yeah.
And her family was from here.
Her great-grandfather was the original owner of the house. He purchased the house, well, the actual construction of the and somewhere around 1870 or just before that, he purchased the house at auction. His original owner,
Jacob B. Tolman,
yeah,
He was the
he was the starter.
that was the
But
start of
there
the
was-
family here.
This was his,
Tolman.
this was,
Tall man,
Jacob.
this was his summer house.
which lasted 1 year, and then he moved out permanently.
And he was from New York probably, or
New York.
Philadelphia?
He was a big real estate man in New York.
Mhm.
He had vast holdings over there.
We wish we still had some of the land on Broadway and, you know, Fifth, and he had quite a bit up there.
Mhm.
We had the place here.
Yeah, I remember his daughter,
Minnie.
Mariah Coley Brown, she talked about the blizzard of '88. He was living here then and she was here, I guess. And he said he had his man used to take him to town. He'd take the train to New York every day. He said, I guess we won't go today, John. That blizzard of '88.
Now, would they go to Monmouth Junction for the train, or were
No,
they
they
able
go
to
to
get in
Jamesburg.
Jamesburg?
They went to Jamesburg and got the train.
He was one of the original commuters of this area.
Yeah.
Now we all drive in an hour. He used to take a couple hours to take the train and the ferry and to get into the city.
Do you remember the Mayhans from Monmouth Junction?
No.
Because they were like residents here that were exporters in New York. They used to commute, and I just thought
No, I
maybe
don't remember them.
maybe they were friends or something.
Yeah. But the house originally belonged to Jacob B. And his daughter passed away early in life and left 2 children, her and her husband. They left the 2 orphans, which was Mariah, and that was George's wife's mother.
I see.
And when she reached her majority, or reached of age to inherit the house, then she and Grandpa Brown moved into the house.
Yeah, about 1900. 1900 they moved here. Of course, Gwendolyn was born in '01.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, '01. Well, they were here from 1900 till they died in, I don't know, 56?
Yeah.
54.
50, 54, 55, 56, somewhere in there.
Both Mom and Dad?
Yeah.
Months
Grandpa-
apart.
Yeah.
They died a month apart.
Yeah.
Month apart.
And Grandpa died first, and then
No, she died.
first.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
died first.
She died first, and he died. Do you remember what they died of? I don't think
Well,
you ever-
she had cancer and he had a liver problem.
Oh, okay.
He had a bad liver.
But they used to have fun here.
Oh, yes.
Didn't
And
Grandpa Brown have a gas station or something across
Yeah,
the
he
street?
had a station across the road, yes.
On the Bankhead corner,
Right on the
the
corner.
northeast corner,
Well, on Buster's side, I
now
don't
these
on
are the,
Buster's side,
we're
Yeah.
speaking of the Browns now.
the Browns.
The Browns.
Grandpa Brown.
Gwen's parents.
Gwen's parents, Mariah and Herbert. They had a little store,
Yeah.
gas station,
Yeah,
over on Buster's corner.
yeah, Buster's corner.
Okay, that's the southwest corner.
Okay, now that is your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Buster is your brother-in-law.
Yes.
And he lives right opposite you on
He
the
lives
south,
across the street, yeah.
on the South Brunswick side.
He's 92.
Okay.
That's Courtney
Courtney Brown.
Courtney P. Brown,
Courtney
Senior. There's 3
Senior.
There's 3 Courtney P. Browns. P is for Parmley. That's an old family name. Parmley,
P-A-R.
P-A-L-M-E-R. Parm. No, there's an R in there, some P-A-R-L-M-E-R. Parmley.
His mom was a Palmer.
No?
No?
Dr. Parmley E. Brown. That was
Yeah.
Grandpa Brown's
Brother.
brother. He was a famous dentist.
No, that was his father was a famous
His
dentist.
father was the famous
Yeah.
And
They started the Baltimore College, the Baltimore Dental College. It was like that era of men were him and his co-partners and stuff.
it would be early 1800s.
Yeah. They were the ones that originally set up the Baltimore Dental School and the New York one. And that's where dentistry went from the barber shop into a dental office. And a lot of the instruments and stuff they designed, our dentists still use. It's just from being a hand-operated or belt-driven power source, or it's now into the air pressure and electric and stuff. But it's basically the same instruments, you know. And baking soda, that was baking soda powder, tooth powder that they first came out with, that we've evolved back to now.
Absolutely, with a little peroxide. I
Right,
use it
yeah.
every day and every night.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that they discovered back at the turn of the century, you know, we've evolved and found out it's the real thing, what we should be using.
Now, You said you would like to speak about Courtney Brown's history or just
Well,
some things?
I think you should, if you want to get a hold of his son,
Okay,
because I don't remember all the stuff, but his son lives right next door here. And but he was in the invasion of Africa, infantry colonel. And that was over, he came back, and then he went over in the entry into Europe.
I remember
He was
that.
in both of them.
Yeah.
He was an invasion of Normandy.
Yeah.
He's got lots of good stories. He traveled all over and was a colonel, knew all the generals.
Yeah.
You know, they all knew him firsthand. He was,
Mm.
you know, he was a very respected
He was,
individual.
he's 92,
Yeah. In fact, he was just awarded
something.
the Medal
I
of
read that.
Liberty or
Mhm.
something
Mm.
from the French government for his participation in liberating the French.
Mhm.
Yeah, he always tells a story about how he came into this one town, and they had been trapped in this town a little bit further over, and the artillery coming in was both from the French and, you know, the U.S. and Allied,
Mhm.
and they were stuck in the middle of this town with it coming from both directions, and they had a hard time getting it, you know, the phones working because you had to run a string,
Right.
you know,
Hard wire.
almost, yeah, the hard wire. They finally got them to stop shooting at them, but he lost quite a bit of men at that time because, you know, of the fire coming from both directions.
Sure.
And it was a very long, drawn-out thing. He got some medals for heroism and so forth because he did save quite a few of his men by, you know, crawling through the line to get this wire out and so forth. But the town, before they left the town, the guy gave them a bottle of liquor. It was, you know, that was a rarity.
Mhm.
You know, it was dug up from below the cellar, below the cellar,
Oh,
below
yes,
the
the
cellar,
French
where they
wine.
had it hidden.
Mhm.
And they gave him this bottle. He rolled it up in his bedroll, and he took it, you know, back to this town where they were supposed to get some relief and get his wounded men fixed and everything. So he pulls into this town, and there were men everywhere. There wasn't a place to sleep, you know, and he just finally walked into this one place, and he says, if I could unroll this bedroll, I could have a drink of this, whatever it was. And with that, the water parted, and there was plenty of room on the floor for him to throw his bedroll so he could get that bottle
They were
of
gonna
liquor
share
out
that
there.
bottle.
They were willing to move to share that bottle.
Uh-huh.
But those were some of the, you know, the things like our kids, they don't see war firsthand.
No.
Our children, you know, the invasions and wars that they're in, they play it at a distance. You know, it's not a reality. With these men, it was blood and guts right there in the trenches, mud up to their knees.
The infantrymen.
Yeah, and you know, they talked about the pup tents. Pup tents were only big enough for a body with little airspace. You know, our kids, they know dome tents and stuff, and this heavy.
Would he be involved in World War I also?
No.
No,
No, not in my brother Bill was in World War I.
He was.
Yeah, he was in World War I.
I know my aunt lost a husband in World War I.
Yeah.
And
We've had men from our families fight in every war. Whether it's, what was the one in Texas?
Yeah.
Huh?
What was the one down south?
No, that ain't me. Texas.
no, George had how many children?
How many kids did you have?
Two children, George Hal Baker and Janice Marie Byrne now.
Janet,
Janice,
Byrne.
Marie.
Derek, we're filming in here.
Huh?
Okay.
Morning,
Dressed
another
appropriately.
generation?
Yes, this is my oldest son, Derek Powell. He's
Derek?
21.
Mhm.
You're going off for work?
I'll be leaving shortly.
Okay.
Better get breakfast.
Uh-oh.
But, how old is Hal now? He's 62?
He was 62, he had his last birthday.
Yeah, 1935. Yeah. Was born in 35.
Yeah,
And
he was 62 this year,
Yeah.
February.
got married in
17.
85.
Mhm.
He was born 35.
To Susan.
To me. Yeah,
And-
first wife. He waited 50 years for the best to come along.
Aha. Okay, and Janice Marie
Byrne.
Byrne. Does she have children?